The SA Health Products Regulatory Authority has granted the Johnson & Johnson vaccine conditional registration. This after yielding positive results in preventing COVID-19 in people 18 years and older. Data suggests the vaccine reduces symptomatic COVID-19 disease by 67%, also said to be 85% effective in preventing severe disease. Our reporter Heidi Giokos following the story. Let's cross to her for the latest. Heidi, is it fair to say this is the final hurdle that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has had to jump over for the official beginning, really, to get everything in place for the start of the proper rollout process?
Yes, certainly, Sally. And I'd just like to say I'm so glad for once I'm not the bearer of bad news. For once, I actually have some good news. And this is indeed good news, given the fact that the medicine regulator has approved the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in South Africa. Now, many are asking questions, what does this actually mean? Given the fact that we have been already inoculating healthcare workers with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. But ultimately, when the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was brought into the country, it was brought on a trial and study purpose, basically on an emergency after the AstraZeneca vaccine was put on hold, and government tried to put together some kind of trial and study program to allow for the vaccine to be brought in. Ordinarily, a vaccine or any kind of medicine brought into the country takes about 90 days before it's registered and approved, and we of course do not have time for this because we are in the middle of a pandemic, and getting South Africans inoculated is key and priority for government. So now that the medicine regulator has approved the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, we know that this is officially government's full vaccine rollout plan. This means that we can bring in millions of vaccine doses into the country at a given time. Before, we were only able to bring in the 500,000 that Johnson & Johnson allowed for. Initially, it was only 300,000, and Johnson & Johnson would then see how we handle those 300,000 vaccines, and then bring in the additional 200,000, which we know will be here by mid-April. So the over 11 million Johnson & Johnson vaccines announced by government can come into the country now for a wider rollout vaccine program that government is, of course, trying to allow for phase 2, which will see not just healthcare workers, but essential workers and others that have been mentioned in phase 2. So this is really good news for government's vaccine rollouts.
What has the Health Products Regulatory Authority said about the safety? Because we know that this approval has come through quite quickly. It is a conditional approval, but they've given it the green light in terms of safety as well, of course.
Yes, certainly. So we do know that because of the eNCA trial that we saw, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, we should actually give thanks to that trial, because a lot of work has been done, a lot of study has been done with this Johnson & Johnson vaccine. We have able to see how effective it is against severe COVID-19, against the variant that was first established in South Africa, or first emerged in South Africa. But we do know that the medicine regulator is speaking about how effective it has been, the studies that have been done, and they have basically approved this. They've also spoken about the side effects of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, saying that from the clinical trial evidence submitted, usually mild or moderate symptoms were picked up and side effects were picked up, but within a few days after vaccination, most of the side effects were just injection, where the injection was put in, headaches, tiredness, muscle pain and nausea. So this is a huge step with regards to our vaccine rollouts. And of course, if the medicine regulator is approving this, that means that enough study and enough evidence shows that this is the right vaccine for the country, and they are confident enough that this can be used for a wider rollout.
Thank you very much, Heidi Giokos.